Wife is jealous of my relationship with our daughter. Okay, so for background, my wife Bridget and I were in a relationship for 4 years until we broke up. Well, during that time apart, she fell pregnant from another guy. Long story short, we got back together and I've been raising Haley as my own since. My relationship with Haley started getting close when Bridget had to leave the country for a 3-month business trip. Wasn't supposed to be that long when Haley was 5. Needless to say that this was a very rough time with a lot of mistakes, but we just figured things out together and got a chance to really bond. And ever since we've been just inseparable. One night while I was up working in my office, Haley, 11 at the time, came downstairs and just stood at the door crying yet smiling at the same time. When I asked what was going on, she blurted that she just had her first period. At first I froze, but being a proactive dad, we went out to get her some pads and treats, changed her sheets, and we kinda just watched movies together for the rest of the night. Here's where I might have been wrong, but I do have an excuse. I'm a book editor by profession, so as soon as I wake up, I go straight to the office and start editing for hours before taking a break. Well, it got to about noon and my wife came in holding the pads in her hands. She first thought Haley got them on her own, but when I told her what happened, she completely lost her control. The whole "why didn't you wake me up and you just robbed me from a milestone" rant, which I understand since she would have more experience, but Haley came to me and I just acted without much thought. After a long period of the cold shoulder, she finally forgave me and we went on with life. Because of our overlapping interests, Haley and I spend a lot of time hanging out. Well, now that she's a teenager, she's been asking me more questions about guys and what we like, etc. Wife a bit jealous, but she understood my position. Then a couple months back, she told me she wanted to go to her first party that weekend. Knowing better, I sent her to her mother, who agreed with a few rules. The morning of the party, we were in the kitchen making smoothies and I could see something was wrong. When I asked, she made me swear to never tell Bridget. I agreed and she proceeded to tell me that her boyfriend and her were planning to make love for the first time at the party and she was scared. Again, we just spoke about it and she ended up deciding she was ready, but she'd have my number on dial just in case she feels different when the time came. Well, it happened, and there's not much more to say about that topic. Well, apparently they've been doing it at home, and yesterday Bridget found a condom wrapper in Haley's room. She confronted Haley and they got into an argument about it since she didn't approve of her being active. After their fight, she stormed into the bedroom and woke me up. I was pretending to be asleep to tell me what was going on. I guess she noticed I wasn't too shocked and called me out for knowing this whole time. She then broke into tears, saying that she's jealous of my relationship with Haley and it breaks her heart because she doesn't share that with her. At the end, she low-key suggested that I stop spending so much time with Haley. When I explained that I wasn't comfortable with that, she blew up saying that she doesn't even understand why I cared so much when I'm not her father. This obviously cut deep and I left the house. Now I get that how she feels, but on the other hand, Haley came to me as her father because she trusted enough to talk me, and at least this way we'll know she's safe. What should I do? Reddit comments. Your wife is jealous that your daughter feels comfortable talking to you, but not her, and her reaction is maybe you should make your daughter feel less comfortable with you. Has she considered any actions she can take? What could she do to make her daughter feel closer? How about setting up things your daughter wants to do with her? A spa day, a girl's jet away, just something to be close to her daughter? Best I could do right now with the quarantine problem is a movie night, but Bridget doesn't like movies. Another problem is Haley trying to be my spokesperson and there at the house and being difficult because Bridget drove me away. I don't want to go back right now, but the problems are mounting. Willing to watch a movie to have a better relationship with her daughter? Anytime she talks to you about how you could distance yourself from your daughter, see if you can refrain it and redirect it to how she could be closer. I'd love to have you as a parent. So hear me out. You're doing right by your daughter, but I don't think you're doing right by your marriage. You aren't acting like a team player with your wife, and that's for obvious reasons, of course. Your wife is more judgmental and harsh towards your daughter. You should still be the living and understanding parent you've been. But now I'd work with your wife to get on the same page. Sit down one-on-one with your wife and explain that it isn't with ill intention that you're close with your daughter. You have the belief that you'd rather her be close and tell you things she's going to do, with or without parent approval BTW, and that's what's important to you. Get on the same page about what your parenting beliefs are and what hers are. Offer an olive branch and show her how she can earn your daughter's trust. Work with your wife to get there, but make sure she knows that trust will take time to earn. She can start by apologizing to her daughter and being open about her feelings. Telling her that she's been jealous of your relationship, but she'd love to work towards a special one with her as well. This won't work if you don't work with your partner, but you're still a great parent. Have your daughter be the go-between. She is not your counselor or mediator. Even though it has to do with your daughter, this issue is between you and your wife and needs to be handled by the two of you. If your daughter continues to be your spokesperson, it will cause more resentment. Your wife will think your daughter is on your side and your daughter will feel the distance more. Tell your daughter she doesn't need to be the go-between, that this is between you and your wife, because it is up to you and your wife to act like adults. Doing anything else can unintentionally put your daughter in a position of responsibility that is not hers. Anyways, your wife needs to suck it up. Have them do a DIY face mask or some crafts or something that interests your daughter. The parent needs to meet the child halfway for something the child likes. Bridget needs to remember that she is supposed to be the adult and not act pouty. I had major things I needed to talk about. I told my older sister, 8-year age gap, not my parents. I grew up in a religious family and always had a lot of doubts and led a more secular lifestyle. So my parents and I butted heads and they never tried to really connect with me past. Do you think that's the godly thing to do? What would God say? Like, I came to you as my mom/dad because I wanted your advice, not a deity's. My sister, she's also very religious, but she never judges. She hears me out, she gives me real advice, and she doesn't force anything on me. My mom never realized that I had that relationship with my sister, but she hated that she couldn't force me to have a relationship like that for me. Just like Haley will likely always remember this fight, I will never forget the time in my freshman year of high school when I was upset about something that happened at school and my mom came in, soft and understanding, asking me what was wrong. And as soon as I said I don't really want to talk about it right now, she blew up and started yelling at me about how I better tell her what was wrong because she was my mother and had the right to know. Which made me cry harder, and when I finally told her, she yelled at me even more about how I had no reason to feel that way and was wrong for feeling that way. Now that I'm grown, I don't tell her much. I still tell my sister. First raise at my new job. Sister. When my husband proposed, sister was the first person I told. Op, you invested time in a relationship because that's what it takes to have one, and it seems like Haley flourishes from it, considering she was willing to go to her dad of all people for intimate advice. It sounds like Bridget hasn't invested, and I'm assuming by this altercation, has actually actively damaged any strong relationship with Haley. You don't need to do anything, but Bridget needs to reflect on what she can do to build a relationship with Haley, because that's on her, not on you. Was brought up that maybe the daughter goes to him because he is a yes man and his mother has to set the boundaries and be the bad guy. This could happen, and you do need to be united with your wife. It won't work because rebellious kids rebel, but you and your wife shouldn't be at odds over it. However, this situation is rare. Most of the time, it really is the kid going with the more patient parent who talks to them like adults. Screaming at your kids accomplishes nothing. It's time to stop. It's simple really. You're the parent your daughter can trust. And yes, I said your daughter. The sperm donor isn't raising her. You are. She recognizes you as dad. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Back to the first part, look at how you've treated her versus her mother. She comes to you after her first period and you jump into action. No judgment, no anger, no arguing. You just talk to her, help her, and hang out with her. She comes to you about wanting to make love with her boyfriend, and you do the same. You talk, you listen, you don't judge. Her mother though, she yelled. She argued. She was angry. Your daughter doesn't talk to her because of how she reacts. Your daughter looks to you for guidance and comfort, and looks at her mother with something close to fear. Don't change anything you're doing. You are doing the right thing and you need to let your wife know. You aren't going to start ignoring your daughter because her mother is jealous. That's ridiculous and childish. Also, she is your daughter. I recommend marriage/family counseling for sure. Your wife may respond a bit better to a neutral third party. Your daughter is upset because she feels like her mother doesn't listen to her. Thankfully, in her eyes, she still has you to talk to, and you do listen. But instead of honoring and accepting the trust she has in you, you are letting the person she doesn't trust, her mother, actively work to erode your relationship. Not by any fault of your own. You are obviously a good dude and you want to please everyone. But you can't. You can't force your daughter and her mother to get along. You can't be the winner here in your wife's eyes either. No matter what you do, you lose. But you can be the winner in your daughter's eyes and teach her what it means to be someone who deserves to be trusted. Your daughter doesn't just not like her mom. She is becoming aware of the fact that she does not like her mom. You forcing them to get along may give you a couple pennies in mom's eyes, but it's going to erode your relationship with your daughter and teach her that mom's wants are more important. Daughter is young and impressionable and needs a good role model. You. Mom is older and selfish and only thinking about herself and is upset at you for being the good role model that she doesn't know how to be. Don't mess this up and make daughter lose her respect in you by catering to mom. She needs a parent and already submitted your resumes ago. Mom may want the job, but isn't going to get it by acting the way she is, and you rejecting the position isn't going to make mom get it either. It's just going to hurt your daughter. Wife honestly sounds kinda entitled here. I understand wanting that relationship, but if you aren't willing to work for it and would rather just destroy your daughter's other relationships to make yours look better by comparison, there is something wrong, because that's pure selfishness. Maybe when she is older or at a different stage in her life she'll want mom. Right now she wants you, and mom is making a really pure lovely thing into something bad because she's jealous. You are both the bad guys because you have a relationship that she isn't included in, and instead of doing something constructive, she isn't willing to work on herself or change her behavior. Don't change yours when you haven't done anything wrong. Share your story in comments and subscribe.